Hi there, it's me Roland, welcome to Bilingual Analytics. I have a feeling that today's video is probably going to be a little bit controversial, so before I even begin, allow me to lay down some ground rules about this data visualization project. I was really interested to see if I can find correlation between the number of road deaths and the introduction of COVID lockdown restrictions in Australia. I was fairly certain that the stay-at-home orders throughout 2020 had an impact on the number of fatal accidents on our roads, so I started to investigate what sort of a data is available for the public. Additionally, I knew that once I can find an open data source, I will be able to dig further and use other, readily available free data in further database projects, hitting two birds with one stone. Although I started working on this database project back in January or February in 2021, I wasn't 100% sure that I should share my report. The reason behind it was that the discussion about COVID and vaccines and lockdowns turned into a smoking hot topic and got extremely politicized. In this video, I will try to avoid any personal remarks and judging how our government here in Australia reacted to the pandemic. Additionally, I'm not going to comment on any other aspects of the pandemic. I will strictly focus my attention to the number of fatal accidents on the road. I really enjoyed working on this project, and I believe it is a great exercise for everyone to practice data modeling and storytelling skills in Power BI, given that you have data available from your government. One more thing. If you find this project interesting and like the end result, please click on the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. I post weekly videos and tutorials about Power BI features, data visualization, and general best practices to follow as an analyst. Thanks in advance. With all of that out of the way, let's start by exploring the finished report. I would like to quickly acknowledge two websites. My data source for this project was data.gov.au, where users can find Australia's public data. The second one is from the Bureau of Infrastructure and Transport Research Economics. They have already created a Power BI report based on the dataset. It does a good job to help us to explore this dataset at a high level. I'll add the links to both sites to the description below. But you are here to explore the report that I created, so let's jump over there. As I mentioned in the intro, I wanted to see the impact of the 2020 lockdown measures on fatal road accidents in Australia. I decided to start with years from 2000 till 2020 in my analysis. The starting point for all good analysis is to set up a benchmark and to understand the data we were given. The first two pages are doing just that. Right now you are looking at the number of fatal crashes that happened on Australian roads between 2000 and 2020. Let me show you some of the goodies that I added to this report. The first visual is all about trends. Luckily, it is showing a downward trend, meaning that the road safety in Australia is heading to the right direction. If we hover over a certain year, we can see a bit more details about the given year. Total number of fatal crashes by state, last year totals, this year total, and year-on-year changes. The second visual shows a split for the number of fatal crashes by the hour. Based on that, 3 PM seems to be the most dangerous hour of the day. School pickup happens around that time and tradies usually finish around 3 PM as well. On the third visual, we can see the number of fatal crashes by state. As I flagged in the comment section below, this number is not adjusted to the size of the population, so it's not a surprise that eastern states have more accidents. Significantly more people live in these states. Maybe there's an option to investigate this information later down the track. In the bottom right corner, we have our fourth visual representing the number of fatal crashes by speed limits. I decided to group the different speed limits into 3 categories, and you can see on the screen right now the way how I grouped them. Users still have the option to drill into each of these groups and reveal more details. And last, but not least, my favorite part, a smart narrative visual about some of the insights. I must admit, since the introduction of smart narratives, I try to utilize them as much as possible. It is so powerful and easy to use. Thanks a lot for Justina and her team for delivering this game changer visual. Let's spend a little bit more time on this element, as it is probably the most advanced bit of this report. All the bold and underlined text are formula driven, meaning that if the user starts slicing and dicing the report, those will update accordingly. With no selection or all selected option, it shows the details between 2000 and 2020 for Australia, and all of those metrics lower down relate to that time period and location. But have a look at this. If I select, let's say, 2019, not only the visual elements are going to change, but the smart narrative as well. Hold on, there is more. Let me select New South Wales from the map as well. Now, all visual elements are going to adjust to show details for those selections, just like the smart narrative. If you are not entertained by these, there is one more thing. I can also select any time period in the column chart and see these figures automatically update for that time period. I'm not going to lie, to write all the text behind this wasn't the easiest bit. Now let's head over to the fatalities report page to see details about death on our roads. While the structure remains the same, or fairly similar, when it comes to the fatalities, what I found the most interesting is the second visual, the one in the bottom left corner. It is telling us which hour of the day has the highest mortality rate per crashes. Of course, the smart narrative helps us to understand this a little better. As we saw from the fatal crash report, 3 PM has the highest number of fatal crashes, but 3 AM has the most fatalities per crashes. Allow me to slice and dice this report page by clicking on the ambulance and select the Northern Territory. The measure shows us that the most fatalities per crash happened at 9 AM. While if I head back to the fatal crashes report page, it is clear to see that 7 PM had the highest number of fatal crashes. One of the best things about playing with any kind of data is to reveal connections like this. I don't know about you, but I really enjoy data exploration and finding these insights within any datasets. Of course, sometimes it could take a painfully long time to find them and think about the best way of visually presenting them. Now that we have a better understanding about the baseline, and we have already seen some trends about fatal crashes and fatalities on Australian roads, it is time to focus on what happened in 2020 and see the impact of the lockdown restrictions. Let's start by exploring the two visuals on the left side. The top chart is all about the average number of days without fatal crashes in a month. On this page, light blue refers to the period of 2000 to 2019, medium blue represents 2015 till 2019, and dark blue is for 2020 figures. For this visual, higher number is better, and as you can see, there is a massive block for April 2020. Yes, that's right. The first nationwide stay-at-home order was introduced in April 2020. As a result of that, we can see 4 days in April 2020 without any fatal crashes in Australia. Additionally, we can also see that none of the other months and time periods have ever reached that figure. In September 2020 and December 2020, we can find 3 days without fatal accidents, but when it comes to either 2000 to 2019 average or the 2015 to 2019 average, they were not able to go above the 2 years mark. The second visual on the left represents the average number of daily fatalities by month by time periods. For this one, lower number is better. And again, we can see the second quarter in 2020, so April, May and June, have the best results. Those months were able to get really close to that roughly 2.6 daily fatalities level. In addition to that, there are 6 months in 2020 where the average daily fatalities were less than 3. Again, it shows a really great trend for the whole country when it comes to road safety. The cards at the bottom right corner give us a quick summary on the 3 most important figures for these time periods. And then we arrive to the insights. More or less I have covered the first two paragraphs so far, so I'm going to skip it now. But the third paragraph is the best summary on the relationship between lockdown measures and road accidents. Those 4 days in April 2020 represent 15.61 or 13.39 or 10.67 lives that Australia was able to save from being listed as a fatal crash and a fatality. Let me repeat this. Based on the average number of daily fatalities for the 3 time periods that I deemed to be relevant for this project, we saved somewhere between 10 to 16 lives. Saving 10 to 16 lives may not sound like a huge number, but please remember, this number could represent anyone. It's not just old people or young people, not just drivers or truckies or bikers, or people living in metropolitan areas or rural regions. Those 10 to 16 lives could be anyone, even you or me. All of that achieved just by following health advice and obeying government restrictions. Not too shabby, huh? As I said in the intro, I don't want to get any political debate over this database project, so I must stop my summary at this stage. If you want to further explore the data on your own, please check out the comments below. I'm going to add the link to the report so you can slice and dice it to your likings. I know that there are some bits that I could potentially further optimize or explore accidents relative to the population figures or the number of vehicles registered on our roads and overlay any of these to my report, but I wanted to see the bigger picture before I start fine-tuning the calculation and slightly increase or decrease the number of lives saved. I try to remember to update this report once we get to the end of 2021 and see how this year's even stronger restrictions affected the number of lives lost on our roads. Thanks for tuning in today. I would be keen to hear your opinion about the database, the topic, or anything else that you have in your mind after watching this video. I plan to create more database projects on topics that interest me, so if you want to stay up to date, hit that subscribe button. Until the next one, see ya!